But again, we're going to be sticking here in Group A. That next matchup that's going to be coming up for you is going to be Takedown going up against SIFT. So we're going to stay in the same group, see how these other two teams we haven't gotten to see yet, how they end up working out.
And again, we already saw relatively aggressive gameplay from that very first match, but it was very one-sided here. So curious if SIFT and Takedown are going to kind of follow a similar suit, or if both of these teams are going to be a little bit more on the same page. I think it's no surprise really to see a lot of similarities to console, or at least Xbox in that last match. I think that the composition felt very heavy towards that Xbox console scene, and I think even now still SIFT and Takedown trying to take note of everything that they've been able to watch happen before them.
Well, let's see exactly what they're going to do. They're banning the Robin and the Zhonghui this time. Zhonghui, a monster no matter where you play him, but I got to imagine, especially here on console, he's going to be tough to deal with. So get him out of there. Then the Chernowog and the Xbalanque, those are the ones that are going to be banned by Takedown.
Zhonghui just a little bit too thick right now to want to deal with, and I totally understand where SIFT are coming from, especially if Raw is the pick that they were aiming for, because Raw can definitely struggle pretty horribly against a Zhonghui if left alone with the Zhong. So I like this choice. They've already got the sustain online. Leads me to believe that SIFT are going to continue trying to build onto this team sustain composition.
Going to be the Geb and the Artemis coming out here for Takedown. A strong dual lane they've already drafted. Geb, maybe not as impactful early on, but Artemis certainly going to feel comfortable, especially if you can get some nice early crits when they're trading out. Try and get themselves a nice early lead.
I really like this Ratatoskr pickup, though, in response. Even though the Rat might encounter some difficulties with the Geb, really annoying anytime you're trying to find that last hit and then you see the shield come flying out of nowhere onto your target. But I like this through the Cosmos because of the fact that you have that drop-down effect towards the Artemis. With very limited mobility, this seems like the right direction to head in. And even further focus against that Hunter, Kumbhakarna.
That is definitely going to slow down this Artemis a great deal. The anti-attack speed he can have, or the attack speed slow, rather, on that Mez could certainly be strong. But you talked about Rat into this Geb. I kind of like it if Geb's the target. Then he can't get Geb shield, right? If you knock him up, CC chain him with the stun right afterwards, and then Raw with the Searing Pain, that might be enough. You never have to worry about the shield.
If you're trying to punish a god in the early game, Geb's probably one of your best targets to go for. I can't disagree with you on that.
And Rat's one of the best at it, yeah. He's very good early.
There's that, and there's also the epic uppercut. So a lot of different ways, though, to have a setup for the Searing Pain. Epic uppercut through the Cosmos, both really ideal. Even the Acorn Blast from the Ratatoskr or the Mesmerize from Kumbhakarna. I think that Takedown are going to have to really be on their toes here and watch their positioning pretty heavily if they don't want to end up falling victim to a random Searing Pain around the corner.
Well, Takedown are going to take away the Guan Yu here, Taco, to try and keep SIFT from doubling down on these healers. They already have the Ra, who's very good out of combat healing. Guan Yu would give them some really strong in-combat healing to go along with that, so they take that away. Then they're going to pick up the Agni, one of my favorite mid laners here right now. That long-range control and burst, so strong.
I think that burst is also going to be necessary because Agni, probably one of the better mages for building a Divine Ruin onto, since you have those bombs. Constantly wanting to spam that anti-heal against SIFT. Would be a bit surprised if we don't see any anti-heal from a Takedown, because Raw alone is more than enough to want to make sure that you really go pretty heavy-handed on the anti-heal.
Yeah, you don't want to allow them to sort of group up on those heals and stay sustained up. But SIFT have the Mercury and the Ratatoskr. Between these two, who do you think is more likely to be going into the solo lane for these guys, as they already have the Kuma and the Hachiman?
If I had to take a guess, probably the Ratatoskr. I was originally assuming that this Ratatoskr would be specifically for the Artemis in the jungle, but I can't envision a Mercury solo lane. That just feels a little bit too awkward, especially against the Cerberus. Not a whole lot of ways to really cut off that ghastly breath, and if you do go for the special delivery to cancel that early on, you're still gonna have to worry about the paralyzing spit follow-up, and if that chunks you, who knows what happens next.
Yeah, maybe if Golden Bow was still in the game, right? You could throw Mercury over there. Yeah, his clear was pretty nuts when he had that AoE coming off. Yeah,
ADC Mercury was a time.
That's when I got all my Mercury worshippers. I'm not gonna lie, I was a Scum Golden Bow Mercury player all the time. I loved it. But
there's nothing scum about it. It was beautiful. it was a great time in Smite.
Yeah, not going to be available for him here. So yeah, Ratatoskr probably going to be the one they pick. And Rat is not a complete stranger to the solo lane. He used to go there. Does have some sustain in the kit, so certainly can kind of try and match up. But curious that they don't want to go with a warrior or another guardian. There's a lot of strong solo laners right now.
This doesn't feel like a Ratatoskr solo that was picked to get a snowball lead and then sort of move that over into the other lanes and look for the early ganks. This feels like a Ratatoskr that was picked because you're just looking to buy some time in the solo lane. It's all about keeping the Cerberus confined. If you can keep Takedown solo laner trapped in that solo lane, then he's not going to be rotating either. And if I had to take a gamble, I'd probably favor the team with a little bit of sustain. This
is an early rotation. Everyone from Takedown are here to grab the duo lane. It's an immediate first blood. Takedown is going to be the one that finds that. They're not going to all-in commit onto Jose. Curious, they almost certainly could have gotten that one, but now they're just going to all back. They're able to grab their first kill in duo lane. A great start. And everyone got an assist credit, too.
Once Jose got that sprint off, I think that Takedown just weren't all that interested in wasting their time with the Kumbhakarna. They already took away the Hachiman's life. That was a pretty easy first blood to confirm, as, of course, Oiz wasn't expecting everybody to be there at the exact same moment. And I can't blame him. As a Hachiman, you know, maybe the Artemis comes around the corner at best, but the entire team to be there, that's just taking down SIFT's duo.
Yeah, oHi takes a very early spill there on the Hachiman, and Takedown with a very interesting start to the game. We're able to come catch them out in duo. We've seen some things like that before with solo laners coming over before that, right before that first wave, trying to help set up a gank and then teleporting back. But this is the whole squad before minions had even spawned, really catching out the duo lane of SIFT. What a great way to get started. And in best of ones like this, it's very difficult to adjust.
You take every advantage that you can possibly think of. And if Takedown are going to be able to find what some may consider to be a bit of a cheese strat.
A bit.
If it works, it works.
You could have put that on a sandwich for sure. Yeah. On some nachos. But I mean, there's nothing
wrong with that.
Like a
foot-long sandwich?
Yeah. There's a lot of cheese. So they got a great start there, and there really wasn't an answer from SIFT. But this special delivery could set up for some trouble here for the Nemesis. The shield, though, is going to keep Drizzle topped right up. So no big trouble.
Loki and Gonzag still had 3 archers to deal with. They didn't want to leave that one alone. And speaking of which, maybe a Smurf could possibly end up getting soloed here, but Toxic already used that paralyzing spit earlier in the wave and didn't have it available to try and look for the follow-up stun from the Ghastly Breath.
Already level 3 for Toxic. He's been able to outclear just a bit. Don't forget, of course, he was the one that got that first blood, so he does have an early advantage, and maybe a Smurf may be in some trouble. The jump comes in. Toxic gonna fall. Smurf just up too far.
He left, like, a army of archers there and was aggressing against the Cerberus. But now it's all about Eddie looking to chase down this Hachiman one more time. He's going to get cut off from the bottom side by Drizzle, and they're still looking for the final killing blow, but Drizzle just can't close the gap.
In fact, he's the one that's going to get caught out. Gonzaga going to grab him with the special delivery, but no one else is around for any immediate follow-up. Loki's here now, but TPC was right there in follow-up, so got to make sure he's careful, as now it's Loki could be in trouble.
Gonzag just completely abandoned his mid laner, and instead of going in, Takedown don't seem to have noticed that the Mercury already chose to back off the base, so a bit of a missed opportunity potentially.
Certainly had an opportunity. I agree with you from Takedown, but I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head, that I don't think they recognized that Gonzaga wasn't there anymore. I feel confident if they knew that was the 2v1, that Drizzle and TPC could have taken that one, as the Geb Shield forced out onto Eddie. The Mez is going to keep them all locked in position so the Heavenly Banner can land too. No chance for a kill, but good poke coming out from oHi and Jose.
Jose gets hit by the trap from the Artemis, but manages to get the 2-man Mez off. And Hachi just a little bit too far away. Didn't have the Heavenly Banner until towards the end of it. Frankie's got to be careful, though, with some of these Geb Shields. He's been using them really early on. Hasn't been waiting for the actual root to occur before cleansing his Hunter. I think he's trying to catch it exactly on the second it occurs. And this, while nice whenever it connects, can also be a bit risky once the team fights actually start to break out.
And it's an interesting thought pattern, right? Because you can use the Geb Shield to prevent damage, to sort of keep your carry topped up, or to cleanse so they can sort of get back if they're worried about the control. And so far, it's looked like he's been using it more to try and give him a little bit of extra health before the damage comes, rather than cleansing afterwards. As Smurf, again, moves up forward, takes the paralyzing spit. The Stygian Torment's available. Smurf's got to be careful he doesn't get pulled back in.
Smurf doesn't even have Purification beats, so even more surprised that Tier Toxic hasn't chosen to drop that Stygian Torment just yet. It's probably because of the fact that maybe a Smurf keeps pushing into the wave and eating up every single tick of that Ghastly Breath.
I think Toxic just can't believe it. He's this far forward, so it hasn't really gone for it just yet. As Drizzle making the rotation to dual lane yet again. Jose thought about backing, but sticks around. No ultimate for Drizzle yet. Because of that, he's not going to come in and gank, especially when it looks like oHi and Jose recognize it and are just going to fall back. Drizzle's going to settle for Oracles as Smurf comes over to continue to trade out with Toxic very confidently.
But Drizzle, for what it's worth, his team's leading with 2 of the kills, one of them being the first blood that he, I believe, actually assisted on, and yet he's still behind.
Sonic Boom off the marks. Stygian Torment is going to be used to collect I'm a Smurf, or maybe a Smurf, and hit him with Paralyzing Spit. So Toxic survives the 2-man gank very well. In fact, he's now got his reinforcements coming on in the form of TPC and Drizzle, and Gonzaga's trapped himself in the blue buff pit. The rain fire comes over the top. Toxic gets the 3rd kill of the game, and maybe a Smurf can't even drop in.
There's a little bit more of that precision that we were looking for from Drizzle with his team. Having done so well so early on, I was kind of waiting for this Nemesis to step up a bit here. It just felt like Drizzle was trying to force duo ganks pretty heavily, and it just seemed a bit unnecessary because he was limiting his own farm and sacrificing his own leveling to venture over into duo just for nothing.
Speed buff is going to be stripped away from Drizzle, though. That's a mental play more than anything, man. Getting ahead of Gonzaga. Not having that speed available to him, but the buff itself, of course, is very powerful, especially on Mercury, who already wants some extra movement speed if he can grab it. So taking that away from him, definitely going to help here for Drizzle.
Well, Gonzaga also just with a complete and total loss from that solo lane experience, ended up using that Sonic Boom, doesn't manage to find the connection with Tier for the kill, and so that's a missed opportunity there. And then he's got his back turn when he goes to try and do the blue buff, completely nonchalant, just 0 expectations of a gank inside of that blue pit.
Literally none, right? My man was almost as deep in that blue pit as you can go, and feeling very comfortable. And unfortunately, that was not the right space to be in. In fact, he had to use purification beads to try and survive, and didn't even. So now he's still susceptible to a gank attempt, especially with Franky now here to provide a little bit of control for over a minute. If Takedown recognizes, they could even punish this Mercury again.
All Drizzles is trying to do is keep Gonzaga's health very low. Slice and dice, almost back up off cooldown. Gonzaga gonna be able to get away though, thanks to the ability to avoid the slow there with Mercury's second ability, but he can't run away from Drizzle this time around. Trying to charge that Sonic Boom for a runaway. Will manage to make it just into the T2 tower in time.
So Gonzaga is going to be able to go for the back just outside the edge of that rain fire. I mean, Gonzaga is playing with fire here at this point, but he is able to make it back to base. They can't find him, but Gold Fury now being looked at. oHi has to run over to try and defend. They've got Loki with the Searing Pain. If he can get close enough, Gold Fury down to about a quarter HP. Franky controls oHi. Searing Pain comes through, and SIFT are able to destroy the Gold Fury.
Not going to be on the mark with that Searing Pain, but Tier could fall really low. Celestial Beam will manage to connect, and that's going to be an easy cleanup for the mounted archery. First kill for SIFT, credited to their Hachiman.
And this is something that I want to talk about for a moment here, but we hadn't had a chance yet. All the kills have gone over to Toxic so far, right? In the solo lane, they're sort of isolated over there. And that Gold Fury with a nice chance to try and get everyone else ahead. But for the most part, SIFT are relevant everywhere else on the map. Gonzaga a little bit behind Drizzle, yes. But now Loki a bit out in front of TPC. Jose is right there with Franky. So is oHi. This is still very, very close despite that early start from Takedown. All of that's sort of been isolated onto Toxic.
And I think a large part of that is also due to just Drizzle initially not paying as much attention towards the map as what he probably should have been, because I do feel as though Takedown should have a much larger lead than what they are currently standing at. It's felt like every part of the map has been pretty heavily controlled by Takedown's aggression, and it seems as though SIFT are really only able to farm whatever Takedown are leaving for them.
They've been doing a good job of making sure they stay close. Now in gold, they're actually a little bit out in front as Gonzaga takes some poke there from TPC. But Agni is so good at it and clearing out here, but they weren't able to confirm the Gold Fury earlier on, so now Takedown gotta try and reestablish that lead they worked so hard for early.
It's a good thing SIFT have this raw in the end. That's the main thing that I'm getting at here, because Gonzaga, he breathes and loses half of his health bar.
Doesn't it? It feels like he's almost always taking damage or a little bit too far forward, but he can fall back towards Loki, trust him to be there for him with the heal on this raw and keep everybody topped up. And so far, I mean, with things staying even, I mean, SIFT is the one that's going to be able to force these engagements to be a little bit prolonged, fall back and heal, and then try and regroup. Takedown can't quite match that.
But they've got to make it to that stage where the raw heals are super able to out-sustain a lot of the teamfight damage. And speaking of teamfight, looks as if Takedown are looking for another Drizzle, looping around pretty aggressively here. Might just be deciding to gank solo lane instead, because Tears got maybe a Smurf completely distracted.
It looks like he was checking for bust, nothing was up, so he is going to come back and look for maybe a Smurf who's a bit far forward in the lane, so they should have a chance to grab him. They do drop the sprint. Stygian Torment is going to control the Rat, pull him back under the tower. Does have through the Cosmos, but he's got that tower shot waiting.
He's dead as soon as he lands. That's why he's just going to go straight back down to the ground. Drizzle credited for the last hit there, so that's a pretty strong kill to find there against maybe a Smurf. He was sitting at level 10, and it's going to give Drizzle a pretty significant amount of experience.
He definitely needed. Up until this point, Drizzle hasn't felt quite as proactive. There have been a couple times where he's tried to catch out Gonzaga, but hasn't been able to capitalize.
Well, just take a look at Drizzle's build path also. Doesn't even finish off with any part of the Katana tree. Instead starts building into what could possibly be the Wing Blade, I'd assume. There are a few slows there from SIFT, but I'm not sure it's enough to warrant building straight into another tree before finishing off your first item.
Well, the four-man collapse going to go into Jose. Cataclysm is off the mark from Franky, and they committed the ultimate from Drizzle as well. Unable to find Jose, who looks as if he was not just in a four-man collapse. He looks fine to me, and he's hanging out. Meanwhile, oHi not going to rotate. He's going to try and push this duo. I think he's getting the call that some enemies are coming left, and he's going to fall back.
I like this discipline from oHi. He hasn't had a whole lot of room, or wiggle room, I should say, to work with over there in the duo lane. His team's just been getting a bit smothered all across the map, so it can be hard for a Hunter to really have any sort of an impact this early on. He's just confined to this duo lane for so long.
Drizzle in a little bit of trouble. 3 members from SIFT are coming through that narrow corridor, and he recognizes it. Does have to fall back. Well, we talked about this a little bit already, right? Can SIFT make it to the point where their raw sustain is going to be too strong? Well, Takedown have kind of taken their foot off the gas a little bit after that great early start they had, and so SIFT are kind of starting to move towards that now, Taco.
SIFT still staying very close. It's neck and neck in terms of the gold. It's only the experience where you start to really see some leads taking place, and even then, it's not entirely leads in Takedown's favor. I just don't think that Takedown are farming as efficiently as what they could be.
I'm right there with you. I mean, they've been looking for some gank attempts. I mean, we just saw, right, that 4-man attempt to catch out Jose, and that doesn't really pay dividends. So when you commit the 2 ultimates, which are fine, you know, those are going to come back up. What you're really losing there is time in the end, because Jose doesn't have to commit anything. He wakes it right back to mid lane, and it's fine. So that could have been time they spent looking for more farm on the map. Not that it's the wrong idea to go for those gank attempts, but when they don't work, that's when you start to lose out a bit.
This could be a very real opportunity now for Takedown. They've already got their Hunter pulling away at the Gold Fury. Eddie going to take a decent amount of damage, and he needs some assistance here. But all Takedown are really trying to do is pull SIFT into the Gold Fury pit because they want the fight.
Well, Toxic gets here way before maybe a Smurf does, who's still clearing the mid lane. He's going to push it up to the tier 1 and pull back a couple members of Takedown as Loki could be in trouble. The jump in comes out from Toxic. Stygian Torment forces the beads. Cataclysm lands and Toxic brings him down. But Sonic Boom hits 3 members. Beads have to come out from Drizzle to allow him to retreat. He drops the ultimate down on top of oHi. Franky lands back into a world of trouble, but now he controls Jose and procs the passive.
But nobody's with Jose. He got such great setup. Finally, maybe a Smurf going to manage to find Franky through all of the madness, but could cost him his own life in the end. Slice and Die's going to get the slow oTPC with the cleanup on the Agni.
And they'd make this trade every day of the week, losing Franky to get 3 kills, and now to have control of the Gold Fury pit. oHi and Gonzaga are still alive. They can move in and try and contest if they want, but they're nowhere nearby. Takedown, get the fight 3 for 1, and they grab the Gold Fury. This is the fight we were asking for from Takedown, and they just took it.
And finally, a real lead has been established, but it can be dissipated just as quickly as it came because Gonzaga and oHi will manage to finish off that Pyromancer across the other side of the map and take down Tier. Actually going to blink in. That's a pretty huge relic cooldown for SIFT to know because of the fact that that Cerberus, the blink initiation on the Cerberus, I think has been a huge role for Takedown's team fighting capabilities. And now, instead, they're going to have to rely purely on aFranky with the Cataclysm, because it'll be a little bit more difficult for Tier to get in place for a nice Stingent Torment.
At least for a little while, about a minute and a half before Tier Toxic will be able to go for that one more time. So we'll see if SIFT can capitalize on that time where it is down, as they've already started to itemize in respect of Loki. And we were just talking about Tier. He's got the Cursed Ankh there to try and give him a little bit of extra, anti-heal, right? They've got the Pestilence already coming out, so they're ready to try and slow down this Ra.
Ra could be a bit more problematic, though, than what Takedown are experiencing currently. I mean, it's so early on in this match. We are just now starting to approach the 15-minute mark that we haven't really had a chance to see the full promising points of what a Ra's heals can truly bring. I do wonder if Loki is going to continue investing into this expensive build, though. I don't want to call it expensive, actually. I just think that it's going to take some time for him to truly get anything online.
oHi is going to be the target. Mounted archery forced out by Drizzle. Does get good slice and dice damage off as well. So he will have to fall back and will no longer have that safety. We'll have beads up in a few seconds, but will it be in time as Drizzle wants to try and force the fight? They are going to drop the board, but Sonic Boom is going to hit at least one. That creates space for oHi to retreat. Now Gonzaga in some trouble. Drizzle finds him underneath the Tier 1 tower, and Eddie looking for the long-range shot. He is going to go into the trap. Cataclysm comes out, or rather the shockwave from aFranky, but they can't find oHi.
Epic uppercut going to have to be used just to buy a little bit more time for this Hachiman. aFranky now could end up falling here if he's not careful. Instead, Drizzle going to take advantage of the Hachiman sticking around, slice and dice for the last hit and the killing blow. And now Eddie hoping to maybe be able to find the T1 here in duo, since they just lost their solo.
Well, Toxic is here again. That's why we see that maybe Smurf's been able to freely push, as Jose is certainly going to fall to the 4-man gank in duo. The rotation does come over from Loki to try and defend their tower, as they're going to send TPC over to try and defend maybe a Smurf.
Maybe a little bit overkill with that Cerberus Stingent Torment, but if
he's very dead, Taco.
It's about sending a message.
And the message is, we're going to do whatever it takes to kill Jose, apparently. Even more than what it takes, really.
Even more than what it takes, for sure. And I'm just so surprised, though, that SIFT don't disengage much quicker, because you already see that Takedown are very willing to dive you in a tower. So the fact that Hachiman chose to hover the front edge of that T2, it just felt rather odd.
And that might come down to communication, because Gonzaga does a good job hitting the Sonic Boom, and I think it's Drizzle that he's able to disrupt there for a moment, but Eddie keeps going. If that was just to sort of give oHi a chance to retreat, then that's a miscommunication. But if Gonzaga comes in wanting to fight under the Tier 1, I mean, then that's curious, right? Maybe they should fall back in that situation.
Hachiman baited a little bit there also, I think, by his support, because it was a nice route. The Groggy Strike was on point from Jose, and I think that they might have been able to kill aFranky had Drizzle not still been hovering right outside, because anybody from Takedown, it was either they were going to kill Jose and the Hachi, or they were just going to stick around until whoever rotated in ended up falling victim to the other three lying in the jungle.
And Takedown finally started to make some aggressive fights and open up a bit of a lead for themselves. SIFT had evened it out by grabbing that Pyromancer after the Gold Fury for a bit, and things were relatively equalized, but now they have about a 2,000 gold lead to their name. Do Takedown. In fact, they're looking for Eddie in dual lane. Heavenly Banner hits. Gonzaga rotating the backside special delivery. Boar and the beads are forced. Gonzaga gonna fall. Eddie in the 2v1. Now has aFranky here in support. oHi has to get on the horse, but the blink comes over the wall from Drizzle. Everyone on Takedown just about has a blink, and SIFT is catching the hands.
This is the clean execution that we were expecting to see from this burst composition. Takedown are doing just that, taking down everybody who comes in their way. And Gold Fury going to respawn here one more time. This will be the third one of the match. Both sides have had a chance to have a gold, but it's only been Takedown that have really done anything with it, I feel.
Toxic keeping two members busy on the right-hand side. It might be trouble for Loki as well if they want to collapse. Looks like it's just TPC really who's looking for him. But now comes in Drizzle to try and add to the pain. Rainfire is going to land. Drizzle slice and dice. Not even going to get the Searing Pain off as Takedown grab the Gold Fury. Maybe a Smurf can't even make it into the pit. Takedown now feels like they're the ones in control.
Not even sure they'll be able to protect their own red buff as maybe a Smurf now recognizes the rotation coming through, able to dash away as Jose looking for the escape right after the fact, and Takedown with their entire team grouped up in the mid lane. This could very well be a siege in mid also.
It looks like it. They got all 5 members here. Takedown have not been afraid to group up early and often in this game. Toxic can't land the stun onto Smurf, but does force him back. Tier 1 will fall. Gonzaga doesn't have much to poke damage from range, so Takedown just grab it and leave.
This game was so close for so long, Finch, and now Takedown are just fully exerting their lead over SIFT, and more importantly, you got the Agni with the Divine Ruin third item. That early itemization has made things even more difficult for SIFT because that little bit of sustain they did have going for them from Loki, pretty much useless with the Divine.
Yeah, Takedown's done some interesting itemization. Frankie's gone rather selfish in that he doesn't have any real aura to boost his team. He does have the Pestilence and the Anemian. That's going to cause problems for Ohai and for Loki, but it's not like the same aura start that Jose is going. But I think it's working for Takedown so far. The Divine Rune from TPC, as you said, has been huge for them. And then just Cerberus being Cerberus around all the time with his passive is helping out too.
Yeah, tier is just massive. And what's surprising is that maybe a Smurf has more experience than him, despite everything. But it's the Ratatoskr, exactly, and his build isn't nearly as hybrid. He's got the Ankile plus the Glad Shield. That's a decent bit of power maybe for the first 10 minutes of a match. After that, not so much. You just aren't able to deal the same sort of damage as that of a Cerberus because of those strip protections from the Ghastly Breath.
Yeah, and if you're picking him because you really want the Through the Cosmos in a team fight, we haven't even really seen that yet from SIFT, right? We haven't seen maybe a Smurf setting up for Loki or really any kind of setup from SIFT at all. They've been on the back foot so much, even when the game was even. Stygian Torment now is going to control the Rat, who still has no BET with Thorns for that last relic, so it's pretty easy for them to lock him down. Cataclysm won't be enough, though. Through the Cosmos gets him out.
Very curious Cataclysm to expend, though.
A little bit late, yeah.
Very unnecessary from aFranky. That's a really big team fighting ult. Maybe a Smurf gets both of their strong team fighting ultimates for free. I like this play from Ohai, by the way. As long as Takedown continue to toy around with this Fire Giant, unless they decide to just fully commit, and then that's going to put SIFT in a really awkward position. They need to try and commit here, but no one's getting anywhere near.
They just couldn't find a way in. Takedown grabbed the Fire Giant with tremendous zoning and without having to worry about Ohai. He's going to keep pushing towards the Phoenix while the rest of the fight goes on. Loki falls first. Right behind him is Gonzaga. Tier grabs a double kill. Maybe a Smurf has been forced out, but Eddie blinks in looking for more. Rainfire won't land, but the autos are there. Eddie gets that kill, and they defend the Phoenix with only Jose and Ohai alive. They're going to start looking for the Tier 2.
They're just going to chase everybody down this right-hand side, and Drizzle managed to back just in time and avoid Takedown losing their left side Phoenix to the smoke push from Ohai. Ohai got a lot of very necessary farm, but he's still trailing in terms of items in comparison to Eddie, and with just Jose and Ohai left to try and defend this right side Phoenix, I'm not sure it'll be standing for much longer, Finch.
Well, that is the root from Jose, but it was early. He gets pulled back into the team. The passive comes out. Jose almost certainly going to fall. Ohai wants to grab Eddie, but the Geb shield keeps him alive. Now Ohai has to retreat. He can't even double for TPC. Phoenix on the right-hand side going to come down now. Gonzaga's back, so is Loki, but they're not going to be able to defend the structure.
Searing Pain.
Actually, they are.
Will finally take down Toxic with a little bit of assistance from that Phoenix. Just not enough focus onto the Phoenix. Eddie looking for the turnaround onto Gonzaga. Special delivery didn't connect, and in the end, SIFT, right now, they're just counting the lucky stars of the fact that they didn't even lose their right side Phoenix for all that.
That was the best they could have hoped of for that situation, I really feel like, was being able to defend that Phoenix. And it comes down a lot to Ohai, who sort of recognizes when the commit is onto Jose, like 4 members of Takedown kind of group on him to make sure he dies in the passive form, that he has a chance to put good damage into Eddie, their structure damage. And even though the Geb shield keeps Eddie alive, he's so low that he doesn't feel comfortable staying inside the Phoenix range to keep putting damage into it. Loki and Gonzaga show up, they force him back, and are able to defend that right side Phoenix.
And Takedown, maybe needing to tone it back just a little bit there, guiding a little ahead of themselves, looking too much for the picks and the kills as opposed to the objectives. Kind of lost track there on that right side Phoenix. Think they would have undoubtedly managed to clear it out had they just focused it from the start, but it happens. It doesn't mean that they don't have a chance to bounce back and recover because, after all, Finch, they're the ones still leading pretty heavily here. That's
true. I mean, yes, SIFT stopped them from getting the Phoenix, but really all they did was stop them. It's not as if they made a big offensive move, so Takedown are certainly still in control. They have the Gold Fury. They do still need that gold at this point, but just to take any hope off the map from SIFT of trying to find a way back in, that's a 10,000 gold lead, 13,000 experience. Tier 2s are going to add to that, and they can start looking for that right-hand Phoenix one more time, but Fire Giant buff only for another minute.
A minute's still plenty of time to work with, at least if Takedown want to just remove these last two standing towers, and SIFT, I like this call from them, not looking to really try and contest here. You got to know when to pick your fights and understanding which ones you can actually make a resurgence from. And as for SIFT, totally in the understanding that if they fight underneath their T2s, they most likely just end up getting wiped.
Instead, going to look for another strong Phoenix defense. Last time, they were able to defend the Phoenix on the right-hand side. Can they do it again? Takedown have about 30 seconds left on the Fire Giant buff if they want to go for it, but it looks like that's not going to be the call. It'll be another minute and a half before the Fire Giant's back, so they're just going to grab Pyro, take this chance to spend some gold, come back with the extra movement speed, and grab the buff again.
Slow and steady wins the race, and for Takedown, they're just going to go ahead and back to base. Might as well spend all that gold that they just acquired from sieging those two T2s on top of the Pyromancer, and everything else that came before that even. I believe that a couple of the members from Takedown hadn't had a chance to back just yet. As you can see, Eddie finally finishing off that Artemis build, the triple crit threat.
Gross. Plus or passive. Gonna be hitting pretty hard is Eddie at this point in the game now, Taco. Plus Drizzle has the Brawlers now finished off to go along with the Pestilence, Divine Ruin, and Toxic has picked up a Pestilence as well. Loki gonna have a really hard time getting heals off during the fight. The best he'll be able to hope for is out of combat when that stuff wears off. Maybe there's a chance, but even that's gonna be a pretty low chance as Takedown to group up to defend the FG. And Taco, is this a continuation of the Charizard thing? You know, Takedown is that could be a move in Pokemon Charizard.
It's Charizard's move.
Yeah,
I think you can actually teach Charizard Takedown.
I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah, it's not a bad move. Yeah,
I'm confident in at least
production's telling us. Yeah, that sounds right.
Even the productions with us, Matt's just like, yeah, you guys got this 100% on that Pokemon grind.
Yeah, that's not a bad move at all. I think it doesn't have recoil damage or something like that.
And maybe these two teams should pair up.
You mean them and Charizard in my backyard?
Charizard versus Takedown.
That'd be a good set. I'm sure we're going to have it. We'll see what ends up going on as Fire Giant gets looked at. Of course, no one from SIFT can come up to defend, so it should be going down for free. It's going to be the Phoenix Siege of SIFT now, or defense rather, that we're going to be looking at here next, Taco. What can they do to try and slow down TPC on this Agni, to slow down Eddie, who's up at the top of the player damage charts as they group up for their big siege?
And it's crazy to think that Eddie's probably the least of their worries. For me, I think it's a large issue with trying to deal with oTPC's Agni bomb damage. It's creating so much spacing for Takedown to work with that SIFT are just struggling to get their damage close enough, because even if maybe a Smurf or Gonzag try to go in with the Sonic Boom and through the Cosmos, they end up being controlled to the point where the rest of SIFT are just disengaging and leaving members to die.
Yeah, the Cerberus feels a little bit better than the Rat at this point in the game, doesn't it? Frankie goes in aggressively. Smurf is going to be the target. Brought to about half health. He is tanky enough to survive the burst. Phoenix, this time, is still standing. They just need one more shot. Now it comes down. Sonic Boom hits just about everyone, but Smurf again gets controlled and has to retreat. Searing Pain does bring TPC rather low, so even though the Phoenix falls, Takedown unable to do it as cleanly as they'd like, but they can regroup, use his Fire Giant Sustain to try and heal back up and push again.
The TPC low enough now, though, that Takedown have to make sure to try and protect this Agni. He's waiting for that Fire Giant regen to heal him up just a little bit more, but Gonzag has got to connect with a nice mangy look, hopefully find a crit onto oTPC, and then maybe somebody from SIFT can finally take this Agni down and out.
Drizzle is keeping the minions pushed up on the right-hand side, and now he's lurking on the back end to try and collapse They send Gonzong over to try and slow him down. Mid Phoenix hasn't been aggressed yet, but Toxic goes in. Searing Pain comes out. That is good damage on the Toxic to bring him low. He's been controlled on the back end and brought to half health, but maybe a Smurf is doing the same thing, but just better. Hi gets the kill on the Toxic. Mid Phoenix still standing. Smurf goes up, gets the knock up on Eddie, but there's no immediate follow-up this time. Smurf gets burned in return.
Eddie could possibly kill everybody here, and he's starting to realize it. Turns back around. Everybody else from Takedown started to run away, but with Drizzle's coming back into the fray, now it's all about Jose looking to escape, but he can't make it out. Even with the epic uppercut, that's going to be 3 members dead from SIFT, all from that turn and burn potential out of Eddie.
Eddie now has a double kill as he finds Gonzaga on the back end. It's only Loki the Raw to try and defend. 2 Phoenixes down. 4 members of Takedown here to start looking for the Titan. The snipe does come through, and aFranky is going to fall to the Titan. Ultimate comes out on the Loki. They bring him down very early. The Boar comes out as well. Takedown have taken down SIFT, and now they've got a game win for themselves as well.
So far, so good for Charizard and Takedown. Both of these teams, I think, have clearly displayed a full understanding over their opponents in terms of just objective control.
Yes.
And I think the only thing here for me as in terms of like critique would be the fact that Takedown didn't seem as focused on their farm as they probably should have been. I think that they definitely should have developed a lead a little bit sooner than what they actually did. But once the team fights came around, they definitely showed that they knew what was up.
They also had to do a little bit around the objective focus too, to make sure it's a little bit cleaner. There's that time that they went too much onto the kill on Jose instead of the Phoenix. Destruction of surviving. In the end, doesn't hurt them. They're so tremendously far ahead. You know, go ahead and look for kills, I suppose, because you got some wiggle room there. But if it's a bit of a closer match, that could come back to haunt them. But they looked great in that game, didn't they, though? I mean, it tells you just how strong they were, that those are the small things we're trying to, you know, point out that they can maybe do better, as already Takedown in a great spot as well.
For sure, some pretty commanding performances. I like what we've seen so far, though, from the PS4 guys. I think that, like we were both talking about earlier, it carries a lot of similarities to Xbox, but I think that there's definitely going to be its own specialty distinctions.
That's right, yeah. I mean, now we've got these 2 console leagues, and already off to a great start here for PS4. In fact, let's go ahead and just check in with those standings real quick. Again, this is going to be EU Group A that we're looking at. Takedown and Charizard already in a great spot up there at the top. Souls and SIFT both took losses. Again, everyone's going to be playing everyone. We're going to take the top 2 teams from each group. That way we get up there and have those 4 teams in each region total.
And Souls, we've yet to see them play, but I think that there's a lot more to be said here. I mean, plenty of time throughout the rest of the day to finally get a chance to see what everybody is all about. And I said that we didn't get a chance to see Souls play. I meant as in we haven't got a chance to see them play against everybody else here in the league, because you already saw what happened with Charizard in my backyard. That was a bit of a doozy for them, so looking to make the comeback potential against Takedown here. I think it's likely. I mean, Takedown felt like a less refined version of Charizard in my backyard there. Yeah,
they felt like not quite as clean, I agree, and I'm very excited to see that. That's why these next 2 sets are so interesting, because I believe we're actually going to get to see the 2 teams that haven't won yet and the 2 teams that did win in our next couple sets here in just a little while, so we'll get to see what ends up shaking down between those. But again, we'll be right back with you. We're going to take a real quick break here, make sure we got everything ready for these next games. Go ahead and grab your snacks. We'll be right back.